He knows nothing, and he thinks he knows everything. That points clearly to a political career. Bernard Shaw, Irish playwright, critic, polemist, and political activist. All right. Good morning and welcome back to another episode of the Liberty Dad podcast, a discussion on politics and culture. If you're tuning in live, I want to especially thank you for giving me your time so early. And I do apologize for being a wee bit late this morning. Put this up on the screen. I once said that I often hear that um, that about colored people time, Asian standard time, etc. But no one ever talks about parent time. That's where you go, oh my God, we're late. Grab your shoes. You can eat in the car. All right. So the struggle is real. So, again, I apologize, but, had things, a little behind this morning trying to get the little guy out so he can get to school, and get himself an education, all that good stuff. So, on parent time this morning. I do apologize. So what are we going to talk about? A lot has been made of the oh, where is that? Where's that? Where's that? There's been headlines here. Um there we go. There's been headlines out about the lack of policy from Kamala Harris. And so I thought, you know what? Why don't we talk about some of these policy differences and see what we can find? And so I decided to go digging because a lot of people have been criticizing on social media and saying, like, like the favorite thing is for people to say, oh, you support Kamala? Which of her policies is your favorite? Right. And, then people are like, well, so I went digging and I was like, well, what policies does she have exactly? And turns out it's a lot harder to find them than you might realize. So the first thing that I did was I checked out her website. So let's pull that up here and see if we can find from her website her policies, because that's where you would go, right? The first place that you would check would be their website and say, okay, well, what is their platform? Okay. So here we go. Let's see. Bam, right there. All right. So this is when you get there immediately. First thing that comes up. Wow, that's kind of interesting. That doesn't look like anything, but hey, it's a candidate. So of course they're going to want money. So no big deal here, right? It's not quite what I'm looking for, but they're all going to do this. That's okay. They want money. So we close that and then we say, all right, let's go to her platform, because surely her platform will have it, right? Well, I see meet Kamala Harris, meet Tim Walz, take action, and store, and then donate button. Nice little button here. Some donate buttons up here at the top. Okay, well, there's no policy, no platform, right? Well, maybe we scroll down and she doesn't say something about it, right? Scroll down. No policy here on the front page. Okay, well, maybe at the bottom. We got store down here, contact us, donate to Harris Victory Fund, donate by mail. People do that. FAQs. Maybe that'll be in there. Let's check out the FAQs. So, questions about donations. Okay, that's interesting. There's a lot of questions. I didn't know there was this many questions about donating. Is my donation secure? Okay, that's kind of an interesting. What are the requirements to donate? Well, you should have money. It's a pretty good one. Will I receive a receipt? Like, I, I don't want to insult Kamala Harris voters, but I do have to wonder, does she not think very highly of them? Like, well, this is 2024. We've been buying things on Amazon and many other websites for a very long time now. And we're still like, okay, is my donation secure? That's a fair one, I guess. I don't even know that you would need an FAQ, but like, what are the requirements to donate? How can I donate? I donated to Biden for president or the Biden Victory Fund. What happens to my donation now? Okay, that's a fair question. You know, is my donation tax deductible? Will I receive like this just seems like she doesn't really think highly about her voters. What are the requirements to vote? Wow, okay. So what are you, 30, 40 years old and you don't know about voting yet? You don't know if you're eligible to vote? This really just reads to me like I don't think that my voters are very intelligent. Now maybe the voters are. I'm not criticizing the voters themselves specifically. I'm just saying it kind of tells me that you don't think highly about it. Volunteering, that's fair. How can I update my contact? Okay, that's fine. I never received my order from the store. Who should I contact? That's fine. Yeah, okay. I bought a shirt. Where the heck is it? Right? That's fine. I have no like some of these are okay. But no policy, right? Unless the policy is I'm gonna give you a bunch of answers on your donations. Maybe that's their policy. All right. So we go back down to the bottom. Let's see. Work with us. That doesn't sound like a policy. Your privacy rights. Let's see. There's a privacy policy. Nobody reads that. A lot. This is a lot. I mean, they probably got to do that by law. That's fine. Terms and conditions. Let's see what would just a bunch of nope. Just a bunch of stuff that nobody's gonna read, right? No one's gonna read this. All right. Website accessibility statement. All right. So let's zoom in on this a little bit so you can see it. This is kind of amusing, I think. Kamala Harris is committed to providing a web experience that meets the needs of as many KamalaHarris.com visitors as possible. We're continually working to improve the accessibility and usability of our site so that all users have an excellent experience. Our ongoing accessibility effort works toward conforming to the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines version 2.1 level AA criteria. These guidelines not only make web content accessible to users with sensory, cognitive, and mobility disabilities, but ultimately to all users regardless of ability. Now, I'm not criticizing the idea that you would make your website, conform to some standards so that people who maybe they have visual issues, right? Maybe they're partially blind, and you need something to assist them. Those kind of things. No issues there. However, you put a statement on your website like, "Hey, we're going to make sure as many people as possible can come to our website and donate." That's it. That's basically like all this work that you're putting in to make this conform to guidelines. Not so that they know what your platform is, because it's not here, but so that they know, okay, here's a little bit about Vice President Kamala Harris. I can read her whole story, right? That's cool. We get to read all about Kamala Harris. We can read all about Tim Walz. Here's that guy. Yeah, we read all about him. That's that's interesting. The highlighted Donald Trump and JD Vance. See those less fortunate as scapegoats and punchlines for their jokes. We see them as neighbors. So he's taking a on their website, he's taking a pot shot at Donald Trump, but not really providing any substance. Like, hey, if you vote for us, this is what you're gonna get. Okay, maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe they just haven't updated it yet because it was kind of last minute rush. Like, oh my God, Biden's not going to work out. Remember, by the way, we do have a President Biden. Nobody's like heard from him. You don't hear about him anymore. So I don't know where he is. He's probably in a hospice somewhere, and they're just pretending that he's still around. I haven't seen him. I haven't, maybe I've missed it. I don't stay glued, but whatever. I don't stay glued to the internet. I mean, I kind of do, but kind of not really. So he's our president. And what was I what was I can't even remember what I was saying, but before I made that snarky joke. But oh yeah, he's taking a pot shot at him, so that like this website seems to be about um just meet these two people and donate to us, but no policy prescriptions, no platform to talk about. But maybe I'm being a little unfair. Maybe it was in the media, maybe she talked about it in a speech somewhere. So here I found this. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. One more thing. Let's go over to her YouTube channel. Maybe her YouTube channel has it, right? So we look at the video, latest videos. All right, latest video. Kamala Harris accepts the nomination for president. Okay, so that was 3 days ago, 11 days ago. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz on tacos, music, and the future of something. Right, future of America. So I don't know about you, but I don't think tacos and music are policy ideas. Let's see. Nose Harris Walls 2024. I don't know what that is, but that looks like it's only a 31 seconds, so it can't policy. It can't possibly be policy. Meet Tim Walls, 1 minute and 28 seconds. So like you have all these videos, and these are 2 and 3 weeks ago, right? And there's no videos here of her policy, just promos, and then her acceptance speech. So they're a bit like there's not much here. But I did find this CNN article. This is the one I talked about the other day when I talked about her child tax credit, which by the way, just a reminder, the child tax credit, which is kind of a policy idea, and we'll get to that here in a minute, but it's kind of a policy idea. I just want to remind you what I said the other day, was it yesterday? That the problem is that they're taking your money all year long. And then if you qualify for a credit, then you get money back potentially. Or maybe you don't have to pay depending on how you structured your taxes in the first place. So, but like to me, why the whole point of the question is like if she's going to boast about the child tax credit and how valuable it is and how it keeps kids out of poverty, then why not make it permanent? And she's just basically going back to the 2021 child tax credit edition. So there's already one in play. Biden added another one during COVID in 2021. It expired after a year, and she's going back and saying, oh, yeah, we're going to revive that. Okay. And then she's making some additional things for, first-time parents or I'm sorry, infants. So for the first year of a child's life. So it's like a temporary tax credit. So it's like you've got a kid for 18 years, but that first year you got a tax credit, and that's a policy. Okay. So there are a couple things out there, but I go here and I'm like, maybe they've spelled it out for me. So I go down here and I look and I say, okay, well, here, Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic presidential nominee, has made boosting the child tax credit a central piece of her recently released 4-part platform. Oh, platform, 4 parts. So I'm going to click on the link. And the link takes me to another CNN article. Okay, maybe it's going to have it here. I hate how they do websites now. Harris leans into populism with proposal for middle class and lower income tax relief. All right, so we go down here. Vice President Kamala Harris on Friday unveiled a populist economic agenda, proposing a new plan to provide tax relief for more than 100 million middle class and lower income Americans as she builds out the details of her governing agenda weeks after locking down the Democratic presidential nomination. So populist economic agenda. There's a link. Maybe this goes to somewhere formal that the campaign team has put out. And nope, yet again, another CNN article, this one titled, What Voters Need to Know About Harris's and Trump's Economic Policy Proposals. So now they're just basically going to compare the two, and they're going down here and they talk about it. So there's not actually been a list put out by the campaign that says, here are our policy proposals. Here are things that you can get excited about. Now, she did give a speech at the DNC, and she noted something that I thought was kind of interesting. So let's play that speech. Well, not the speech, whole speech. It's like 50 some minutes or 40 minutes or something like that. But we're going to play this just little clip here real quick, and we'll talk about it. So here we go. Maybe.
The middle class is where I come from. My mother kept a strict budget. We lived within our means, yet we wanted for little. And she expected us to make the most of the opportunities that were available to us and to be grateful for them. Because as she taught us, opportunity is not available to everyone.
Okay, so that is okay. So there's a couple of things here. Number one, that is factually incorrect. There are opportunities for everyone. There is no shortage ever. There's no scarcity of opportunities. You might have heard the phrase, luck favors the prepared. So let's put it this way. Somewhere in Jacksonville, there is an opportunity for someone to be a doctor, right? There is an opportunity. There's an opening somewhere for a doctor, probably multiple doctors, right? That opportunity is there, right out there, just waiting for someone to seize it. That opportunity is not available for me because I am not prepared for that particular opportunity. I did not go to medical school. I don't have, any of the required training, any certificates. I have zero, absolutely zero toward being a doctor. So therefore, even though those opportunities are available, they're not available to me. Now, something that might be available to me, there might be an Uber opening, right? And there's not technically openings like people just go and decide they're going to sign up for Uber, but there's that opportunity. Like I could go in Uber if I wanted, drive around and talk to people and take them where they need to go. That opportunity exists, and it exists for me because I have a car. Now, it doesn't exist in the most meaningful way because while I do have a car, my wife uses it. So therefore, the opportunity is relatively limited. You see how that works? So when we talk about opportunity, we have to keep in mind that there are opportunities upon opportunities upon opportunities all over the place. It just so happens that many of them are out of reach because we are not prepared for those particular opportunities. Now, if there was an opportunity for, say, web development, depending on the nature of it and the details, that may be open to me, right? Like that may be, I may be in a position where I could seize that opportunity. And so the first and foremost thing when we're talking about opportunities is to recognize that there is no shortage, no scarcity of opportunities. The number two thing to remember is that opportunities, the number of opportunities available to an individual are based on how prepared they are for those particular opportunities. And if we really wanted to dive into it, we could say the opportunities, there is a relationship between what opportunities are available to me. Like, and when I say available to me, I mean ones that I could go and do based on the requirements of the opportunity. There is a relationship between that and regulation. How much regulation is out there that gets in the way and adds a few layers, one or more layers of challenges that prevent that opportunity being available, right? That we got to have that conversation we're talking about. But this is her thing, and you'll see this. I think this is going to be reported more and more. This notion of creating an opportunity economy.
That's why we will create what I call an opportunity economy, where everyone has the chance to compete and a chance to succeed. You live in a rural area, small town, or big city.
Okay, so she's talking about this economic opportunity, or I'm sorry, opportunity economy, and I think it's important for us to say we already have one. So that's not really a good policy to come out with. Like I'm going to create an opportunity economy unless unless she's actually reducing regulation and saying, "All right, there think of regulation like this. Let's see here. Let me take a look here. Let's see here. Okay. So let me go. I'm gonna put this comment up on the screen. It doesn't really make sense exactly with what I'm saying. I was looking for one that a lot of misinformation in politics. These seem reasonable to me. Okay. All right. So Joe is correct. There is a lot of misinformation in politics. So tying that into what I'm talking about now, when we have a I keep wanting to flip the words, an opportunity economy. I keep wanting to say economy opportunity. We have an opportunity economy already. It's full of opportunities. And the one biggest thing that we could remove, the one biggest barrier is government, because government puts in a lot of barriers, and it's all over the place, right? You want to start a restaurant? Well, here are all the things that you have to do in order to start a restaurant, right? You want to be a barber? Oh, you might have to go to school. That depends on the state that you live in. Oh, you want to be, you want to do this job? Well, maybe you need to have these legal requirements. We're not talking about requirements between two individuals or two entities. So going back to Joe there, and I'm going to use Joe as my kind of stand-in here. And he was talking about a lot of misinformation. There is, because the misinformation suggests that there's no that there's not this opportunity economy. So let's say that Joe and I come up with an idea, and we want to, let's trying to think off the top of my head here. Let's say we want to build a website, and on this website, it's going to list every libertarian candidate in the entire country. And you can go and donate to them. You can see their policies, their platforms. You can link to all their social media, but we're going to keep a database of all this. And we start asking for investors and donations, and the donations will go toward the upkeep of this, but then also for us to buy a little, snack here and there, right? We get some Cheetos, you know, and so that is an opportunity. That's an opportunity. So the only problem is, one, can we do it? Right? Can we build the website? That's pretty easy. Can we get all this information? Okay, yeah, we can get it. Can we keep it up to date? Right? Can we offer people things that they want? Can we provide ad space for companies that might want to advertise on it? Right? These kind of things. Like that's what. But imagine now if government says, well, in order to do that, you've got to do these 5 things. Just yeah, and I'm not going to try to come up with 5 things, but let's just say they put a bunch of regulations out there. Well, those regulations will interfere with our opportunity, which is a way to make money. And so I look at it and I say, if you've got regulation, then that is impeding your opportunity economy. We already have one, but it can be better. And I'm okay with saying that, so long as what I'm hearing is we're going to deregulate. We're going to move things out of your way so that you can do what you do, which is come up with ideas to separate somebody else from their money. And in a good way, of course, right? To make an exchange where somebody says, I feel better off with your product or service than I do my money. Remember the other day when I said, hey, all transactions are about feeling better off? I used a coffee cup, which I don't have, but let's say I wanted to sell you my phone here, right? And I said, I'm going to sell you my phone for $100. That's an opportunity for me to make some money. Okay. And you might say, well, I prefer to have I prefer to have the cell phone more than my $100. So then you want to make the exchange. And then I say, well, I would rather have your $100 than my phone. Now we're both better off because we both got something that we wanted. We wanted what the other had more than what we had. So we made the exchange. And so that just bubbles up into many, many other things. Uber, a standard job, maybe you want to get online and be an influencer and make tons of money and, ask people dumb questions all over social media so that you can get engagement, what have you. Opportunities are all over the place. And the only thing is a matter of what is in my way. And the government's job, if anything, should be to deregulate and remove those barriers. But let's not forget that they put them barriers up in the first place. Okay. So their job is to get out of the way and stay out of the way. That's really their job. It's not much of a job. It doesn't sound pretty glorious or anything, but I think it is. So anyway, so that's what I want, I'm not finding policy that I can look at and evaluate. Now, what I did find was this fellow on social media. His name is Ed Cressenstein, and he put out something. Now, he's not part of the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz team, as far as I know, but he put something out. So I was like, all right, well, I need some bullet point list of something to work from. So let's take a look at what he put out and see if we have anything that we can learn from that. Let's see here. Here it is. So here's his full. All right, there's quite a bit there. We're gonna break it down and make it a little bit easier to evaluate here. So there we go. All right. So now we're gonna look at these. He's got like 7 or 8 of them on there. So he says, to everyone who keeps asking me what policy ideas of Kamala Harris I like, here are just a few. All right. I'm just going to kind of briefly go over these. Now, again, remind you, this is coming from Ed, not from the Harris campaign. So they have no obligation necessarily to keep to these as written. Just saying. Like, unless they've put it out there and said, this is our policy, which a couple of these they have. So he says medical debt relief. She plans to eliminate medical debt for millions of Americans. Well, that's not really a policy. That's just giving money away. Like I hope that we are not voting candidates on the basis, and I know we are, on the basis that we're just gonna they're like, my policy is to give money away. That's my policy, which of course requires taking it, because the government has no money unless they take it from the citizens. The government is not a business. They do not generate revenue in the in an exchange way. They generate revenue by taking. That's their revenue. Okay. So this is not a policy. I would argue this is not a policy. You're just giving money away. You're just making a promise and saying, hey, if you got medical debt and you qualify and whatever criteria they put out there, we're going to give you some money. Okay, well, that's great. They get some money, but that's not really a policy. That's not one we can look toward year after year after year and evaluate the effects. Second one, prescription drug cost. She plans to cap the cost of prescription drugs. Okay, like all prescription drugs or just some of them, for starters. It's sort of a policy, but it's mostly ignoring cost and not paying the price. So maybe Ed, and this is where us libertarians shine. We can nitpick at stuff. He said she uh, uh, she plans to cap the cost of prescription drugs. Well, she's not going to cap the cost because the cost is the cost. Okay. Let's just think about it for a moment. You've got a manufacturing plant. They acquire all the materials that are necessary to develop to produce a drug, right? So they have to pay for that. There's a cost. They have machinery, that costs something. They have employees, that costs something. They have a certain amount of time that has to be invested. So maybe from start to finish, the whole process of taking raw ingredients and converting them into a small pill, a whole bunch of small pills, and packaging them, maybe it takes 12 hours, right? From start to finish. And it's all packaged up and ready to be sent out to all the supermarkets or all the pharmacies or whatever, right? So her plan is to cap the cost, but all those costs are actually going to remain. She can't cap them, right? Unless she says, okay, well, anybody that's involved in this manufacturing plant that's creating this drug, that's producing this drug, they can't be paid more than $50,000 a year. That would be capping the cost, okay? Because the cost is, what does it cost to make, to produce, to package up, to ship, all of those things. So what she's really doing is just refusing to pay the price for it, because afterward, that facility is going to say, okay, it took us 12 hours and it took us so many people and so much equipment and so much raw material. Here are now your drugs. And this is the cost of all of that. So they will take, or I'm sorry, this is the price that we're charging you for that. So they will have a cost, all those things, and they will determine a price for which they want to sell that to whomever. And then they make those negotiations, right? So she's just going to say, we're not going to pay the price for it, but the cost remain the same. So that's kind of sort of a policy, I guess. Not a good one, but it's kind of home ownership. Home ownership. She is planning to offer $25,000 subsidy for first-time home buyers to make home ownership more accessible. Okay, that's a policy. That's one that we can see play out over the whole 4 years, one year after another, right? Because like, okay, in the first year, let's say she gets elected. In the first year, you're going to have a certain number of people who are eligible for this $25,000 subsidy. They're a first-time homeowner buyer, home buyer, and so we can see what the effect of and how many people applied and how many people were given this $25,000 subsidy, and how that played out. And it may be years before we really see the total impact, but we can see how it plays out. Like, did homeownership become more accessible? And how are we defining accessible? Okay, cool. So that is a policy. All right. Now, again, it's not guaranteed to be her policy, but it is, in fact, a policy. So let's see here. Let's go to the next one. The other half of that. Boom. There we are. Perfect. All right, so here's the other half. Child tax credit. I talked about this the other day. She plans on introducing a $6,000 child tax credit for the first year of a child's life. Okay. This again, I qualify this as a sort of policy. Because let's say, so for me, I'm not having any more kids that I know of. Like, we're a little bit on the older side. Probably not going to happen. So the likelihood is that this is not a policy that applies to me. In fact, it's only a policy that applies to people who happen to have a child after this goes into effect, right? And maybe the details somewhere would say, okay, anybody that had a child within 6 months, or whatever, they may make some of that, but it's just at face value here. I can just look and say, okay, from the time that this is implemented and in effect, that's when it applies to people who will have children, who happen to have them. They will get that $6,000 child tax credit. Now, because it's a $6,000 child tax credit, presumably you're going to have to pay $6,000 in taxes. So if for some reason you are not paying that much money, maybe you're on welfare or something like that, this probably is not going to apply to you. So there's a limit, but it is sort of a policy. But the reason I say it's sort of is because after about a year, poof, poof, it's gone. No more policy, because like it doesn't apply to me anymore. So like, let's say I do have a child after this is in effect. I get the $6,000 child tax credit, which, by the way, we talked about this the other day. The tax credits are more like a rebate. So it's not you getting to keep more of your hard earned money, like she said. She did say that. She said, we're going to make sure you get to keep more of your hard earned money. What she really meant to say is, we're going to create policies that will give you back some of your hard earned money that we stole in the first place. That's what it really means. You're not keeping it up front, right? Because then that would mean they wouldn't take it in the first place. They're still taking it. And you might even find out that you still owe money at the end of the year, right? So they're not necessary. It's kind of like a sort of reducing your taxes. Depends on, do you qualify? Are you planning on having any more children? If you're a single person, chances are this child tax credit not going to apply to you, right? I mean, some single people do have children. I get it. Like, and I mean single, like not dating, not engaged, not not married, right? That's what I mean when I say single. So anyway, taxing corporations at a higher rate. This includes raising the corporate tax rate to 28% from 21%. Okay. This is a policy, right? I'm going to tax corporations. Now, whether or not it's a good policy, we can argue. I think that anytime you raise any taxes, that is not a good policy. That's my opinion. And I will argue to the death with that. The next one here, abortion and reproductive rights. Harris has made abortion rights a central issue, advocating for access to contraception and fertility care. That is not a policy. There's no policy here. Like, it could be your central issue to talk about, and you can go to every speech and say, "Oh, I'm for women's rights, and you have choice, all this good stuff, and it's your body, and all that good stuff." But that's not a policy. Policy is some sort of, what am I going to aim to do in office officially? What is my official action? I'm going to do this. Think of like a SMART goal, right? SMART goals, which I can't remember all the acronym, but you can look it up. But think of those, right? Like, this would be something where you say, I'm going to do this, and you can judge me later on how well I accomplished this particular goal, right? Or the effect of it. So the fact that it's a central issue that she just is talking about it doesn't make it a policy. And to be honest with you, people can have access to contraception and fertility care. There may be limited access depending on your economic status, but that access already exists. Like pretty much everybody can go and buy some condoms at the store, right? Um, I, from my understanding, birth control you can get it at Walmart for like less than $10. So it's out there. It's accessible. And what this is probably really meaning is just abortion. That's probably what they're really trying to talk about. But again, there's no policy to talk about. What are you going to do? Or what are you going to try to get Congress to do that you're willing to sign off on? Last one, no taxes on tips up to $75,000 per year. Unlike Trump, Harris's team is looking to limit the policy to only those making under a certain threshold. Okay, so unlike Trump, so this is more like a comparison to Trump, but it is kind of a policy, like no taxes on tips up to $75,000 per year. I presume what that means is if your final your total income is $75,000 or less, you will not have to pay taxes on any tips. But if you are making more than $75,000 a year, then you will have taxes on tips. That's how I'm reading this. Um, and so I don't know this is a kind of an interesting one that Mr. Krasenstein has put out because he's like, unlike Trump, Harris's team is looking to limit the policy. So basically, what he's saying is, well, Trump wants to apply this no taxes on tips to like everybody, but unlike him, we think there should be a limit. So, like Ed is basically showing how him and many other left leaning people, Democrats, so on and so forth, progressives, whatever you want to call them, they're all about, oh, you're making a lot of money. Well, then you should give a lot of money, which is a terrible idea. Taxation is theft, yada yada yada. So that's what I was able to get from from Kamala Harris, but it wasn't really from Kamala Harris, right? Like, you go to her website, you go to her YouTube. There's nothing really there that I can look at and say, okay, I agree or disagree with this, or here's why I think this is a bad policy idea, or why this is a decent one, whatever. Okay. But Ed's done the legwork for me. And but again, she is not obligated unless she has said somewhere, this is my policy. This is part of my platform. She is not obligated to anything that he said, and she could change it at will. She could drop it. She could modify it. She could do whatever she wants. Right. And there's not much I can't complain. I can't look back and go, oh, yeah, well, Ed said this. Can't hold her accountable for that. So it's nice that Ed put this together. But again, and not everything was even a policy in the first place. But again, this is nothing formal from her. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of an intermission here real quick. And then we're going to come back and we're going to look at we're going to compare Trump and Chase's platforms, who actually have platforms on their website. We can go there and look at them and read them. We're just going to take a quick review and see what they've got. So let's play that intermission and then we'll be right back. All right.
Attention, Florida.
We believe in maximum freedom and limited
There will
government.
be multiple libertarians on your ballot this November. So take a chance on something different. I'm Fina Benoan, and I approve this message.
Oh, there we go. I'm back. All right. Awesome. Little intermission there. Very quick. All right. So let's see. I like this comment here. A couple comments here. Joe Noosh says, but without extortion, mafia, I mean, government can't function. It's true. They don't take your money. They can't function. Why don't you think about that, folks? This is why libertarians say taxation is theft. Well, the real reason that we say taxation is theft is, let's say, and we've got at least a couple people here. So we've got that Liberty lady says, Liberty Dad has jokes this morning. I try, I do my best. So let's just say clicked on the wrong button there. Let's say there's the three of us. There's Joe, that Liberty lady, and there's DL. We're all voting to determine whether or not we want this tax. And let's say that I'm the only one that says no. That the other two say, heck yeah, we want this new tax. And I say, no way. Well, because of our system, they would win because it's 2 against 3. So the tax gets implemented. And guess what? My money gets taken against my will. That is what we call theft. So that's why libertarians that's why we say taxation is theft. Because unless it's 100% voluntary, there's always somebody having their money taken from them. So I just wanted to point that out. Got a little sidetracked on where I was trying to go, but let's get back to looking at the the platforms. So we've got platform. Let's see here. Here we go. Boom, right there. I feel like I'm a little off today, but that's okay. We're gonna work through this. So here's the Donald Trump website, and you can see Agenda 47. That doesn't sound ominous whatsoever, but hey, let's go with it. But right here up in the top, platform. So we've got platform, news, events, get involved, contribute, shop. So they still have the donate money to me. I get it. That's cool. That's what candidates do. But he's got a platform button right there. You can see this platform right here. He's got 20 items. I'm not going to review all 20, or maybe we'll just go through them very, very briefly. So this is his Agenda 47. Okay. Remember the movie Hitman? His number was 47. Just want to throw that out there. Just saying, just saying. Anyway, and then we've got Chase Oliver over here. He says what Chase stands for. And again, platform right there. Kamala Harris's website didn't have platform, didn't have anything on there. Home, about, platform, media, endorsements, shop, events, donate, get involved, standard buttons, standard links. Then we go down here and he's got, well, it looks like about 20 as well. And then we can click on these and we can get a little bit more information. Now, is it going to be a full on detailed? This is exactly no, but this gives me an idea of what this candidate is about. So let's see. Let's see here. So he doesn't have these bulleted in the same way. So he wants to seal the border and stop the migrant invasion, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. So those are his top 2 items, right? He's got them numbered 1 and 2. Immigration. What does Chase say? It should be simple for those who wish to come here to work and build a better life to appear before immigration officials at an accredited port of entry, be given medical and criminal checks to assess their safety, and receive a visa allowing them to immediately find employment. This is a process that should take at most days, not months or years. Our immigration system is outdated and inefficient. It's time to break the partisan gridlock and simplify the process so immigrants can come, work, and thrive as a part of our communities. Immigrants built America, and they're key to its future. Okay. So entirely different. So I can make a decision based on these 2 things. And I can say, do I want to, as Trump said here, let's go back to it here. Do I want to seal the border and stop the invasion? And I'm not going to get into quibbling about the term invasion, but is that what I want? And do I want to carry out the largest deportation operation in American history? If I do, then maybe I support Trump. If I don't, then I might look at Chase and say, he wants to streamline the immigration process and make it easy. And he wants to ensure that people that are coming over here pass a medical and criminal background check. That's it. Like, hey, if you're not a criminal, and I'm going to make an assumption because I know Chase personally, I assume that when he says a criminal check, he's talking about violent crimes. So if somebody bounced a check in their home country, pretty sure that Chase does not mean that would, if they did it on purpose because they were defrauding somebody, he wouldn't say, well, you committed this check bouncing, you wrote bad checks, so you're not allowed to come to the US. Right. I'm pretty sure what he means is violent crimes. Oh, you raped somebody, you murdered somebody, you beat somebody up. Yeah, we're not looking for that. We're looking for people that are going to come over here and simply find a job and contribute to society effectively the way everybody else does. That's what we're looking for. You want to be a doctor? Great. You want to be a plumber? Awesome. You want to come over here and drive for Uber? That's great too. Come over here and get the opportunity because we have an opportunity economy. Despite what Kamala Harris is trying to tell people, we already have one. We just have a government that gets in the way. That's our biggest problem. All right. So that's what they said about immigration. Let's see what else. It's easier to go from here. His third one, end inflation and make America affordable again. I don't know what that means by make America affordable again, but let's see here. Does he have something specific? He has up there right at the top there, cost of living and inflation. If we really want to fight for people chasing their dreams and achieving their goals in life, that would be the opportunity economy. The first thing we have to do is make sure we quit robbing them with inflation. Government overspending and reckless money printing are fueling skyrocketing costs, hurting those who can least afford it. By slashing spending and balancing the budget, we can crush inflation and ignite a stronger, more vibrant economy that works for everyone. So when it comes to inflation, they both want to deal with inflation. Now he doesn't specify exactly what he's going to do here. He just says end inflation. So I assume that it would be one of those little signings where he like holds up a little book and it's like, look, I ended inflation. And then it doesn't really end inflation because inflation was already on a downward trend. And then years later, we'll look back and we'll say, oh, look how inflation was already on a downward trend by the time he signed this bill that he claimed would reduce inflation. Now it sounds like a lot, and like DL, did you just make all that up? I kind of made it all up based on history, because a lot of what a government does, when you look back, you find out that government signed something, they signed some sort of legislation or something to to deal with the situation, and then we find out that the situation was already improving before they got to it, and so then they're basically just kind of jumping in there and taking credit for something that they didn't actually do, or it actually doesn't work at all, right? Like you get that as well. At any rate, so they both want to end inflation. And I assume, in good faith, I will assume that Kamala Harris also wants to end inflation. Like, I can't imagine any politician that would say, you know what? Yeah, there's inflation, but we don't really need to address it. It's not, we don't really need to do anything. It's fine. You'll be all right. Go to work a couple extra hours, get you some overtime. Right? Like, I don't think any politician would say that. So in fairness, they probably all want to end it. And it's just a matter of, what is your plan? Well, Chase, he wants to stop printing money and he wants to stop overspending. And then Trump doesn't exactly say what he wants to do or what he would be willing to do. Let's see. Make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. Exclamation point. He means it. It's big business there, right? Serious business. All right. So he wants to, where are we here? Let's see. Does Chase say anything about that? I'm sorry. What did it say again? Dominant energy. Yeah. Energy. Where we go here? Oh, green energy right there. Boom. All right. Nuclear power is greater than fossil fuels. It's cleaner, safer, more efficient, and helps curb the negative effects of climate change. Solar and wind are also, and others have their places too, but nuclear power is what we need to power the 21st century. So he wants to push toward nuclear power. Chase will transform environmental policy by slashing red tape and embracing the market-driven, science-backed solutions. His planned, his plan: end wars, respect tribal sovereignty, ensure energy independence, and champion smart deregulation. So remember a few minutes ago where I said policies in my mind to create an opportunity economy need to deregulate. They need to remove barriers so that people can operate. That's exactly what he's talking about here. He's like, look, I'm good with green energy. Let the market do its thing. Get out of the way. No subsidies. We're not spending. We're just going to get out of the way and let the market take care of it, because the market can figure this out. The market can decide, hey, is this solution really science backed, or are people just saying it? Does it need more study? Right. And then when he says end wars, which, if you're not familiar with Chase, just so you know, the military, the US military, is one of the worst offenders when it comes to the climate. Okay. So you can go look up documentation on that. So that's his point here, part of it, at least for the green energy. Ending wars is part of his platform as well. Let's see here. Where is it? War and foreign policy. So that's another one. So we'll look at this last one and then we'll call it a day. As the major parties become more and more war hungry, parties, plural, Democrat and Republican, libertarians have been sounding the alarm about the unsustainable military empire since its inception. As president, I will, and he's got it in all caps. When somebody puts it in all caps, they're serious. Like, if you can't believe a candidate, you can believe them when they put it in all caps. I will end wars and bring the troops home. For too long, our nation has been entangled in endless wars, Afghanistan, just to name one, leaving scars on our veterans and their families. It's time to pivot to a foreign policy focused on peace. We need to end drone strikes and military interventions and instead champion free trade and international goodwill. Let's reclaim our role as the leader of the free world by pursuing peace and serving as a beacon of hope. So that's his plan for dealing with war, more in full, right? So part of his anti-war position goes toward green energy and the free market, and then also, ending violence, ending conflict, which is also a huge priority. See what Trump says. Has he got anything about war? Let's see. Stop outsourcing, large tax cuts for workers, defend our Constitution, prevent World War III. Okay, we've got something, number 8. And I'm not going to criticize him for the order. I'll just take it easy. Prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America. Okay, well, that's his plan. He doesn't really tell me how he's going to restore peace in Europe and the Middle East, which would be one hell of a feat, considering, can anybody remember the last time there was actual real peace in the Middle East? Yeah, me neither. So good luck with that. But that is a policy that this is something that we can look at and say, do I want this? Do I want our own Iron Dome? Israel has one. We can say, do we want one? Well, if we do, we think that we need to make it all made in America, which kind of does make sense in a way. Maybe some allies that we trust, but maybe not so much China. Maybe not having stuff come from Russia, who are not really our allies. So I kind of understand the all made in America. But if that's what you want, I said I understand it, folks. I didn't say I agree with it. If that's what you want, then maybe you support Donald Trump. But if you want somebody that looks at war and says, we need to get out of these endless wars, and we need to stop damaging our veterans and our families, and we need to focus our efforts, our status in the world on promoting peace, then maybe you vote for Chase Oliver. And then I'm not really sure what Kamala Harris, what her position on war is, but I have a sneaky suspicion that she would continue some conflicts, that she would not be pursuing with the thought of, we need to get out of entangled and endless wars, and we need to pivot toward peace. I don't think she's gonna, just nothing that I've heard suggests that. But again, I have to speculate. Why? Because she doesn't have a friggin' platform on her page, on her website. So I don't know exactly what she wants. There's a few things here and there. And I think the other day I shared something from her Twitter where she talked about the child tax credit, and then the what was the other one? The earned income tax credit, right? But again, those are going to be kind of limited, and there's only 2 of them. Chase and Trump have some 20. I don't know how many Chase has exactly here, but Trump has 20 for sure. He's even got a cool name for it, a cool ominous name, Agenda 47. Sorry, Chase, but you kind of got boring here. You just what does Chase stand for? You need something ominous, Chase. Go think of something, libertarian. I don't know. I'm not even going to try to think of it on the fly. But again, point being, I wanted to look at their policies, and I wanted to see what I could find, because that's what voters should be discussing. That's what we should be debating, right? We shouldn't be arguing about Tim Walz's son crying for him, right? We shouldn't be worrying about, did Kamala sleep her way to the top? She's already at the top, so how she got there is kind of irrelevant at this point. And half these politicians are sleeping around anyway, so whatever. So clearly we've already established that we don't care about their sexual proclivities. We've done this for a long time, since Clinton. Okay? So that doesn't matter. So why don't we, at a point, talk about policies? But she seems to be gaining more and more momentum despite having no policies. And that's kind of scary, because she could get elected just because people like her. And they don't even, this would even be worse than Obama, because at least Obama was like, I got this Affordable Care Act thing. And they were talking about it, like Obamacare. 47 million Americans. I remember the commercial. 47 million Americans don't have health insurance. We're going to fix that, right? They had a policy idea, a major piece of legislation, something that they ran on. And Kamala Harris is running on, I mean, basically it's a make America great again. Because she's like, well, we want an opportunity economy, but we already have one. So presumably what she's saying is we want to make a better one, which is effectively make America great again. It's like her own version of it. She doesn't seem to have anything. She's just mirroring and what Trump has and then disputing it. And I'll put this up on the screen real quick before we end out here. This comes from the Atlantic. So this is a headline that I saw over in the Atlantic. Kamala Harris defines herself, but not too much. At the Democratic National Convention, I heard more about Trump's policy agenda than Harris's. Now, this is from the ultra conservative, total right wing Atlantic, right? And they're saying, like, I heard more about Trump. And it was even on their website under the Tim Walls. Remember when we went there and I saw that they highlighted a comment where he's like, well, Trump wants to do this and we're going to do like, and even Ed Krasenstein did that. So a lot of our campaign is, I'm not Trump. I'll spin off of my own Make America Great Again. That's not policy idea. And that should be scary to anybody because what are you getting behind? What are you going to hold her accountable for? Let's say Chase Oliver wins. I know it's a ridiculous remote possibility, like tiny, like itty bitty. And I'm not trying to diminish my own candidate here, the candidate that I'm supporting. I'm just trying to be reasonable. I understand the reality of the world that we're living in. But let's say he got elected. I can go back and I could say, did you accomplish any of those things? Yes or no? Because, eventually after his 4 years, he's going to want possibly a second term, right? If he gets elected. So I can go back and say, did you accomplish these things that you won me over on? Did you accomplish these things? Okay. Or because the president is only one person and there's a checks and balance, our system is built on checks and balances. Or what did you do to try and accomplish these things? Did you work with Congress? Did you have regular meetings? Can you show your work that you tried to implement these things and Congress got in your way? That would be okay. Like, oh, okay, you want a second term? I can see that you really put a lot of effort and you realize that 4 years wasn't enough. Now you need 8. Great. I'm going to vote you back in. Or I might say, you didn't do any of that stuff. The hell with you getting a second term. No way. But Kamala Harris voters right now, as it stands, are not in that position. Trump voters are, at least. They can go back and they can look and they can go back and look at his old stuff and say, did you accomplish everything that you wanted in your first term? Did you try to accomplish everything in your first term? Were you being obstructed by, an unruly Congress, you know? And so they can decide whether or not he should get a second term. And they can decide again whether or not the ideas that he has on his site are meaningful in what they want for America. And so we can go to the polls, at least the Trump voters and the Chase voters right now, they could go to the poll and they can say, if somebody were to ask him, what's your favorite policy? Presuming that they read them, they could tell you, but at least they're there to be read, even if Americans don't do it. And that's the important part. So for me, I would say that Kamala Harris, as a candidate, should get an absolute F. And for all the talk that they want to trash, they want to talk about Donald Trump, at least he has a platform. At least he has something that he's put out there and said, this is what I want to accomplish or the direction that I want to go, regardless of whether or not those are good policies, which I think a lot of them aren't. But it's there. All right. Let's see what else we got here. I'm just going to put it up on the screen and read it after. The past 3 days, I've seen more posts about people ticked off that RFK went with Donald, with the duopoly. Duopoly. So they are voting for Chase Oliver instead. Let's hope so. I hope so. I hope that every RFK voter, person that supported him, gets angry and says, what the hell? You ran on fighting against the establishment. Now you just joined them. You join the establishment. And I don't want to hear from people like, oh, Donald Trump is better than Kamala Harris. Maybe if that's how you believe, fine. But that doesn't change that RFK was running against both of them, specifically on the idea that he was neither the Republicans or the Democrats, and that both parties are to blame for a myriad of things. I agree with him on that. I just don't like his policy ideas, but I agree with him on that. And that's why what's one of the reasons why I'm behind Chase Oliver, because I cannot trust the duopoly. And yet RFK is like, well, maybe if you give me a little bit of a position. So now people that were criticizing Kamala Harris for sleeping her way to the top can kind of do the same thing for RFK. I mean, he may not be sleeping his way to the top, but he's effectively moving forward in a similar shady way, right? He's capitulated. He shouldn't have ran on I'm fighting against the establishment, the duopoly, and then turn around and join the duopoly. He could have joined the Libertarian Party. I mean, hell, he got into a contract with our national party, got into a contract with us, but then decided to go for Trump. Great. Thanks a lot. Thanks for absolutely nothing. All right, folks, that's my show. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it informative and inspiring. Be sure to catch me Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. for an informed discussion on politics and culture. Make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, or if you prefer my Rumble channel, you can go to youtube.libertydad.com or rumble.libertydad.com. While you're there, let me know how I'm doing by leaving me a comment. Last but not least, I want you to remember, if you are a champion of liberty, your business is people and your product is liberty. I want you to have a great week. Catch you next time.